On air from Nashville, it's me, Ruth Rosen.
And on air from Seattle, it's me, Tim Tackett. Welcome to the Let It Be podcast. In today's episode, we're going to be introducing a new learned wisdom on courage. Not the type of courage that feels heroic, but courage that makes you feel lonely. The moment your worst fear stops being a what if and becomes right now, comfort gets crowded and courage gets quiet. This series is going to unpack what it means to look fear in the eye instead of turning away, how acceptance is not surrendering your future, but protecting it, and why strength is sometimes a gift you receive only after you stop fighting for control. And as you listen, hold one question close. Where are you choosing comfort today, even though courage is the decision your future self is begging you to make?
Good morning, Tim.
Good morning, Ruthe. I feel like I'm always saying I'm pumped.
Yes.
But
you are pumped on
I'm
this
excited.
One. You chose it. You chose the Courage series.
I did. It's such an important thing, courage in all that we do, whether it's at work, in our life, just with ourselves. And
do you want to know who recently displayed courage to me? And the answer's yes.
Do tell. Yes.
You did.
Oh.
Because, Tim, you openly shared that you prayed. And that took courage. And I just want to say thank you for encouraging me through your courage of prayer.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, I was excited to tell you. And in that moment, I needed an extra boost. And as I've said, is being an agnostic doesn't mean shutting the door to other people's realities. And it means keeping the door open, listening, accepting. It's really important.
What I didn't ask you, though, on last episode, was there anything that you felt? Did you feel God was listening? What did you feel after you prayed or during your prayer time?
You know, I can't say that I did feel anything.
Okay.
I maybe don't know what I'm looking for. Maybe there is no God. Maybe it did drive me a little bit. There's just all these.
Okay, but let me reword
still.
it then. As you were talking, did you think you were talking to a wall, or did you really think somebody was listening?
Well, I wouldn't say those are options. I would say those options. I don't like those options.
Okay, all right.
You only gave me two options.
Okay, so when you were talking, did you think you were talking to yourself, or did you think somebody was listening?
I felt like I was talking to myself.
Oh, you did?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
But that's okay with me. I mean, I talk to myself all the time. I bet you talk to yourself all the time.
No, I do
right?
not.
When you're gardening out there, I bet you're like, tonight I'm going to
Do you answer yourself?
make chicken and macaroni. Yeah. Oh, that's a good idea, Tim.
Oh my gosh, we're getting way off track, but there's more. We're going to talk about that prayer time. So I'm ready to dive into this today with you.
I think we should start the episode with reading the new learned wisdom from chapter 21 in your book in relation to courage. And when you get us started.
I would love to. When your worst fear stares you in the face, don't turn away. If you can find the courage to look it in the eye, you've accepted God's great gift of strength.
So what are our focus words for this learned wisdom?
Well, as we unpack this series, we're going to be talking about courage with all of our guests, but we're also going to dive into specific words like fear, accepted, and strength. You seem real excited right now.
Well, I'm thinking of the words. Like,
okay.
Strength and fear, I think, resonate for me personally with courage. But accept, that word kind of has me a little curious. So this was chapter 21.
The end of chapter 21.
We've had a lot of great guests on lately, and we haven't really discussed much of the book. Would you be up for maybe talking about what was going on in that book and what was going on in your life at that time? What really prompted that?
Absolutely. So, thank you for asking. And you're right, we haven't talked about the book. Book 31 chapters, and 16 of them I wrote learned wisdoms. They were my takeaways from the journey during Carla's diagnosis and her 13-month journey. And chapter 20 and 21 were together. Being it in context, the tumor was back and bigger than ever after her recent MRI. And we were fearing that this could happen. She hadn't wanted to talk to me. They released her from the hospital. We knew the tumor was growing with a vengeance. And so finally, Carla wanted to talk. It was in the middle of the night. And she woke me up and she said, "Mom, I'm ready to talk to you now."
Well,
So I walked downstairs with her. She was very shaky. We had agreed she would not walk downstairs any longer by herself because she was too unstable. So I got up, we walked downstairs, and we were just having a conversation about the tumor growing and did she want to take a trial. I left the decision to her.
right.
And we were sitting there in Carla fashion, of course, always eating. She was so small, but she was always eating. And she was sitting there. And I'm going to read some words right from the book.
Okay.
And she said, "Mom, peel me a tangerine." As I did, Carla asked me the toughest question I had ever been asked as a mother. "There was something I forgot to ask Dr. Gibran," Carla began. "If I don't do any more chemo and the tumor keeps growing, how long do I have to live?" My heart sunk. I didn't know what to tell her. Though the doctors had told us that she could live 1 to 3 years, that had been at the time of diagnosis 1 year earlier and before all medical intervention. I responded, "I don't know. I've never asked," I said, "but if you want me to, I will." "Yeah, I do." And then I sat there. I remember, now I'm just pausing for a moment, but just to give you a little feeling on the context, is that I had
Mhm.
never talked to her about this. So agreeing to ask the doctor, knowing I was going to have to face my worst fear and have that tough conversation with her. All of a sudden, I say, "You know, Carla, you should never ask a question that you don't really want the answer to." Unsure of whether it was the right advice to give, then, with an unexpected lightness and humor in her voice, she responded, "You're right. Don't ask." So I said, "Are you sure?" She said, "Yeah." And somehow we both began to laugh. I'm not sure why, but it didn't matter. So, Tim, that was keeping it in context.
Okay. Well, I see strength playing into that, fear, um, acceptance showing up, even curious.
Mhm.
I mean, I can only imagine what was going through her mind asking that question. Like, that's a brave question to ask. It's like she's just
Mm,
saying, "When am I going to die?"
that's right. Without saying it.
So, well, I appreciate you sharing that because I know, it's been 20 years
As I
now.
was reading that, I felt like I was there. I truly put myself in the kitchen where we were having this conversation. So thank you for allowing me to relive that moment, but not as in fear, but with acceptance.
I want to believe that what our listeners can take from you sharing this is the strength that you show now, 20 years later. There's there's sadness in your heart. I know that, but you have the courage to keep going. You have accepted what's happened.
Mhm,
There is maybe fear for the unknown of the future, but
mhm.
your strength. I think that our listeners should know that
Mm.
there is life after tragedy. So
Yeah, absolutely.
let's talk a little bit about some other things that our listeners might be experiencing right now that would be able
Relate
to.
to.
And some of these probably hit home for me
Mm.
when I read. It's like, oh, yeah, I did that last week. And I'm sure some of them you as well. So I wrote some down here. And the first one, I swear I didn't prompt this question at
Yeah,
all. It
yeah,
was just
yeah.
something
I
that came
believe
up.
you, Tim.
Having the conversation you've been avoiding, right? Apologizing, setting boundaries, naming what's not working, telling the truth.
With love.
Next one I have leaving what's familiar, ending a relationship, changing careers, moving, starting over, right? Think about when your identity is tied to how it's always been. That's scary for me. Like,
Mhm.
if I ever wanted to move, I have a lot of stuff. And
Mhm.
that's a lot. I can only imagine you moving to Tennessee.
It was crazy. That move was
Yeah.
definitely, if you think about it too long, it can become overwhelming, and then you say, "Nope, I'm not gonna do it."
Yeah. Just one foot in front of the other at that point.
That's right. And I did. You
Yeah.
know that I struggled, and I still struggle with a little bit of identity, because you can't just stop what you're doing for 20 years. And I just had this conversation with Tiffany. She retired as a nurse, and she is having the same, a little bit of identity crises, is that who am I outside of that role that we once lived?
Hmm.
So,
Yeah, that would be tough. We're talking about health, people's health. Going to get a test, going to an appointment, accepting a diagnosis, choosing treatment.
mhm.
Your whole lifestyle changes.
What about, this is a big one for me, and that's asking for help when you're used to being the strong one.
Yeah.
Okay, that is hard.
Yeah, accepting that I don't know. I don't know what to do here. I need help. And you know what's great is when you can reach the point of actually learning how to ask for help,
Mhm,
it's so relieving. There's that
mhm.
acceptance, right? When you can
Accept.
accept
Mhm.
the fact that, like, I don't know what to do here. I need help.
I would say it like this: in order to be a good giver, you must also learn how to receive. Asking for help, how can you continue to help people if you don't know how that feels? And so that goes back into accepting, I can't do this. I'm afraid. This is something I don't even want to go there on, like getting the diagnosis of your child, a brain tumor. Wait a minute. This
Yeah.
is a big fear. And when you face it and accept it, then it does become our great gift of strength that can only, for me, is from God.
Yeah. It's like you can't even move forward to the next step unless you move past that one. You have to accept it.
So, having that conversation right now, Tim, as an agnostic, I love how you're always willing to learn. And like you said, you referred to it in the last episode of having French doors. So one open, one closed, or they're both open, or they're both closed. Um, how do you find strength and courage when you don't lean on God? Where does yours come from?
From within, I understand that I am the primary source and the most immediate source to build courage. And if I'm having trouble,
Hmm.
I talk to Bethany. I definitely have a great partner. My wife is grounded, but also open to hearing suggestions and sometimes saying, "You make the call. I trust your decision." And so, I think the two of us are great. But I absolutely think, and maybe a pedantic example, but we just got new windows put on our house. I put the sliders in here. I've put windows on our house. I've done all these things. I know how to do it.
Hmm.
but hired someone else to do it. That was really hard, but and much more expensive. But in the end, it was like, you know what? I'm going to trust these people. But then I was kind of like, what are they doing over there? Is he putting on the Vicor?
So you
I
didn't
can't see if he's
completely trust them.
Oh,
No.
I would say like 99%.
Mhm.
That's, but and again, it's not as heavy as what we're talking about earlier with Carla, but at the same point, like that was hard for me to build up the courage to be like, I'm just going to let someone else do this.
Mhm.
And I'm glad I did.
Mhm.
They did a stellar job, and I will call them again, and I didn't have to do it, but it's really hard, and that's something important to me.
Wheel me back in.
But that's just a minor silly example that hopefully maybe brings more levity to the conversation. Another one that I struggled with early in my career was showing up imperfectly.
Hmm.
Launching something, to the greater group that I had designed with others, speaking up,
Mhm.
right? Sharing your experience or even being seen before you're ready. I remember sitting in leadership meetings, and I was so, I wanted to show up perfectly. I had this vision of who I was supposed to show up
Mhm.
as, and it kept me from being me and in my authentic self. And there would be nothing more frustrating than sitting in a meeting and my boss will ask a question. Oh, what do we think of this idea? And in my mind, I'm like, oh man, I think this, but mostly this. But no, I don't want to sound like an idiot. And then someone in the back raises her hand and says exactly what I was thinking. And then my boss was like, oh, that's a great idea. Oh.
I think we've all had that.
But it holds us back. Your courage, your courage if you just don't step up and
Well,
take risks.
you're right. Taking risks does take courage. And I think as we talk about courage is breaking it down to the different kinds of courage, right? So we've got moral courage, physical courage,
Right. Mm-hmm.
social courage, and emotional courage.
Tell me more about moral courage.
For me, moral courage would be boundaries because I know what's right and wrong, but the comfort of the ease of not wanting to set the boundary. And so I'm going against my own moral compass. So it's going to take moral courage for me to set those boundaries in the areas that I need to.
Yeah. Okay. So absolutely. Saying no to something you used to say yes to.
That's hard
People
too.
pleasing, overcommitting, allowing a certain behavior. I get that. Moral courage. Yeah. Just, what's right.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And doing it takes courage to set those boundaries. And what about for you right now? When you think of the courages and broken down like that, moral, physical, social, emotional, where can you admit and accept right now that you need to face fear right now?
I mean, I'd probably identify with all of them for some aspect of my life, and things that bring me discomfort. I would say physical courage. We've talked about it a little bit. I've got some things happening with my arthritis. Right, I'm aging, and so I'm starting to have things. Things are falling apart. Right, the ship is not in the condition it was when I got it. So I having to have courage of knowing that the routines that I used to have, like playing soccer and running around with the dog and just all the activities that I used to be able to do.
Changing. It's a different, so then it even goes back to our episode with Cammie as having to change the way, find new ways to support one another, right? You can't do that the way you used to do it. So you have to find a new way to still find enjoyment.
Accept. Again, thank you. See, you keep bringing me back to that word accept.
And see, you thought you were going to struggle with it, but so what drives courage?
Well, for me personally, I can either wallow in self-pity and live in that area, or I can picture if I do what my future self wants me to do,
Mm-hmm.
what's the end result? It's good. It's all good things. There can be such a feeling of loneliness if you put yourself out there, if you said moral courage. You say what you know to be right, but the larger group or maybe a couple people don't agree with you. You kind of feel isolated and siloed because you're putting yourself out there and you can feel lonely because you're making a decision before you get any reassurance, which is brave.
But from the start of that courage journey to the end result of the courage journey, like you said, can only get better. There's still, and I think Bianca said it, unglamorous moments.
Oh, yeah.
And
That's where
there's
you learn.
walking in courage doesn't mean it's going to be easy. And sometimes, Tim, you make it, and I know you're not doing this on purpose, but as you say that, maybe I'm interpreting it this way, but it seems so easy. But a courage walk, a courage journey can take a long time.
Yep.
Even
Totally.
for me,
It can
years.
take a long time. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. It's not something that you have. Some people do. Like some people just speak up and they don't care. They'll just blurt something out and then they build a reputation. So that's kind of a different topic. But it's very hard to build that courage. And you're going to fail sometimes. You are going to say something
And
that
it's
is
going to hurt.
wrong or
And
unpopular.
it's going to feel unnatural because we're growing in those unglamorous moments. And I
Yep.
know, just going back to boundaries, it's going to feel difficult and I want to just give up and I can't. I want to give in.
Yeah.
I don't want to give up. So,
Well, that change might actually be more uncomfortable. Sitting in that change of behavior might be more uncomfortable than what you're putting up with. But you're going to be so much stronger on the other side.
I feel it now.
Mm-hmm. So it's been good to unpack kind of the meaning of courage and our new learned wisdom. Ruthe, I am really, again, excited
Pumped.
for the
Are you
guests that
pumped,
we're going to
Tim?
have. I'm pumped. We have some really cool guests planned for our future episodes for this.
Some very strong and courage-driven guests coming up. And as Tim and I sit here and maybe at times we will ramble on, but the reality is we're introducing with our guest, we're going to continue to talk about courage throughout this series. And I'm looking forward to it as well, Tim.
So did you come up with a good scripture for today's episode?
Well, going
courage?
back to the beginning of chapter 21, in my book, as I started each chapter, I would put a quote. But in this particular chapter, I actually did a Bible verse, and that's John 14:27. And again, these letters are in red, which means in the New Testament that the word spoken by Jesus. And it says, "Peace I leave with you, my peace I give you. I do not give to you as this world gives. Do not let your hearts be troubled, and do not be afraid."
Great. Do not be afraid.
That's right.
I feel like that comes up a lot in the Bible. Do not be afraid.
I don't have that answer, but I'm certainly going to write it down and get back to you on that, on how many times.
Yeah, like Matthew, do not worry.
Yes, do not worry. Correct. Ooh, I like that you knew that right away.
That's one of my favorites.
So, Tim, do you have a song that you think about courage, and what does that look like?
So the song that I chose was, in particular, I chose it because it was listed in chapter 20 before chapter 21's Learned Wisdom, and it's Maroon 5, Sunday Morning. And I remember meeting James Valentine, who is one of the bandmates for Maroon 5, and I remember meeting him at the hospital when he came to see Carla. Yeah, which was pretty cool to meet him and how he interacted with Carla. Didn't he like give her his guitar too and
He
teach her
gave
lessons?
her guitar lessons. They them two connected, and yes, he gave her a guitar. It's hanging down here in the room down here outside the studio. And yes,
that's so cool. Yeah. So the song itself, really the main premise of the song is basically about the comfort of being with someone you love during a quiet, rainy Sunday, using the calm moment just to kind of be a contrast to stress and the chaos of life. And I think where I see the courage in the song is just being able to slow down, like just slow down when life is chaotic and be vulnerable when you can, and just having the courage to commit. Maybe there's some listeners right now who are about to get married, right? I mean, maybe they're about to make this big decision in their life. That's a big commitment. And so have the courage to commit to someone you love.
Well, you do this to me sometimes when you share stories, and I did not know you were going to pick Sunday Morning by Maroon 5. But can I share a little something with you?
Absolutely.
Okay. So Carla was supposed to be in her lesson that day with James, and while she was in her MRI, I walked out, we went and got a cup of coffee, and we passed James at the hospital. He goes, "Hey, where's Carla? She didn't come to her lesson today." And I said, "Oh, well, she's in MRI right now, and she couldn't come to the lesson." He goes, "Oh, well, could I come visit her?" I said, "Absolutely." They had told us now she's out. She's back at her room. And they had just told us the tumor was back and bigger than ever. I had been crying. You could see it in my eyes. And James walks in, and he sees us in the hall. And he just looked at us. He knew it was not good news. And I couldn't tell him because Carla was right there. We hadn't talked about it. It was just a situation where he felt it. He grabbed Carla's guitar that had been sitting there up on her shelf because she was going to go to lesson. And he just starts playing music and singing. And he gets his laptop out and he's sharing with her the new stuff they're working on. You want to hear it, Carla? And by the time he started playing and doing all this, all the nurses were standing at the doorway. Carla's friends were there. We were just all enjoying this little mini private concert. So James Valentine, you touched our hearts, never be forgotten. And he turned a bad situation, a terrible, terrible situation, into a moment of joy and laughter and music for a moment. So anyways, I want to share that with you. So he sung this to us. Yeah.
Wow. That's what he's saying.
Yeah, that's exactly what he was singing. So cool. And lots of things he was singing, but we were just enjoying it.
That's great. Well, as I often do when we're done here with our episode, I play that song quite loud. So that gives me a really good visualization. Thanks for sharing.
Okay, so before we leave, Tim, you always remind us of some self-work we need to do on ourselves. And
yeah, I want to go back to the introduction question and just ask it again because I think it's very thought-provoking. Where are you choosing comfort today, even though courage is the decision your future self is begging you to make?
Until next time, goodbye, friends.
Bye, everyone. We're so glad you're here. Did today's episode give you a little boost of hope and encouragement right when you needed it? If it did, we'd love it if you'd hit that like button, subscribe, and maybe even share it with someone who could use a little light today. For extra content and more from this podcast, make sure to follow us at Instagram at letitbe.podcast. And remember, there's still beauty unfolding in your story.